Hey guys, we are going to be making prints. We're going to be using different color schemes, kind of like what you see here. This is Pop Art by Andy Warhol, and the printmaking process that we're going to be using is pretty simple. It's going to be transferring the image by tracing it and applying a media to the back of a piece of paper instead of silk screening, such as what you see here. All right, so here we have a little template, and if this will focus, let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. So we've got a little template of Marilyn Monroe faces. All right, kind of similar to our Andy Warhol print right here. Okay. All right, and so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna flip it over and get a piece of charcoal. I have this piece of charcoal from my fireplace, and I'm just gonna apply this to the entire back. I have to make sure that I get this all over. You could also use graphite from a pencil, but that takes a lot longer. So that's why I'm using this. And you could also use crayon. So if you want to use crayon, you could use crayon too, but I figure this is pretty good. It should work. These dark areas are better than the light areas, so we want to come back over and make sure that the whole paper is pretty evenly covered with charcoal. Notice how I turned it 90 degrees. By doing that, if I go in the same direction here, then I'll pull some of the carbon from one place to the next. And again, this printmaking process is using the transfer technique. It's kind of like using carbon paper. Back in the old days when a person would use their credit card at a restaurant or at a store, they give the credit card and then they would make an impression of the raised numbers and the name on the credit card using carbon paper so that they'd kind of get a print of the credit card. All right, there we go. Notice the paper is kind of curling up, and that's because we're stretching the paper on one side, and the other side it's not stretched. All right, so here's our carbon, and then we have our paper print on the other side. All right, now we got to get a paper to print it onto, or a surface to print it onto. Here we go. We're going to line up the corners just like so. And what you could do, if you don't want it to move, you just give it a couple folds at the bottom like this. And that way, when we do our drawing on here, that we transfer it over, that the paper doesn't shift on us. So now what we could do is just trace the outline of our picture. And if you want to do your own, that's fine. You could make your own images on a paper. You want to make 4 of them, just like how you see that there's 4 here. All right. And we're just going to trace the outlines. And what should happen on the other side is we should get a shadow of a drawing right here, okay? And so this is really kind of fun when you learn how to do this. And again, you could use so many different things. You could even use printer's ink on one side, or you could use paints. All right, and I'm just gonna fast forward to the end while I do this whole thing and show you how it looks. All right, so I just traced the whole thing. Let's see how it turned up. All right, pretty good. We got it exactly what I was hoping for. I've got a very light line, very light halos going on here. Now, if there are some that aren't showing up as much as others, like over here, what you could do is you could just practice the line over here and then bring it on over here. Okay, so you always want to kind of practice where the line is first and then bring it over if you're missing it. Okay, so you could see that this one comes down over and around the eye. All right, so we're going to go down, over, and around the eye just to pick it up where it's missing. And then we're going to do that again in all the different spaces where it's needed. Okay, so practice, you kind of train your hand into moving in a certain direction, and then you bring it on over. Okay, just make sure that you have it all. Here we have a neck that's not fully fleshed out. So again, we're going to practice the line up above, and then we're going to bring the line back in the same way down below. Practice above, get the spacing, try to get the spacing right, and bring that line over. It really helps to practice the line first. Looking back and forth is okay, but this is way better. I always practice the line first. Okay, practice the line first, especially if it's in a kind of a light area. You want to darken it anyways. It may not be perfect, but that's okay, and that's the nature of this. We're getting multiple prints. All right, it's kind of like pulling prints with a screen press, and then screen printing, and then going to the next one. Each one is going to be almost exactly the same, but also just a little bit different. All right, so once we get to this point where we can really see our shapes, then what we're going to do is we're going to plan out our color scheme. Okay, when we look at the Marilyn Monroes that Warhol did, we can see that there's a lot of color variation, right? Each one of these follows a different color scheme, all right? And scheme means a plan, all right? And these colors are, sometimes they're kind of muted out, meaning that they have multiple different kind of tones overlapping each other and kind of dulling the colors, especially at the edges here. We have a dark green, we have a cadmium red, we have a pink, and a tinted yellow, right? You see a lot of tints. There's a lot of tints, there's a lot of shades, all right? And there's a lot of mutes, okay? Tones are, when you're mixing your pure chroma color with grays, but what we really have here is we have mutes because we have overlapping of different colors that kind of dull it down a little bit, but make it very interesting against all these tinted, rich, bright, vibrant colors, right? All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to plan this out. If you want to, you could take a look and just say, okay, well, I'm going to do exactly what I see here. I'm going to do like a tinted blue background with a high tint of red, all right, very high tint of kind of like pinkish red, and tinted yellow. All right, so let's say I'll go tinted pink. I'll just write right there, TP, and then I'll do maybe red hair, and I'll go for a green background, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so there we go. All right, I have my borders. Again, not 100% necessary, but definitely makes it nice. So hope you guys enjoyed this. All right, have fun doing it. If you want to do your own design, great. Or you could do this one or many others that I have ready for you. All right, have fun.